Hey? Is it on? Is it working, yeah? Are we live? Oh, we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the beautiful Westwood Lakes near Boston. Now, we're here today filming for my members channel, but also a little practice for the Windfest that's coming up this weekend. Now, it's a great 3 days run by Tony. Everything's run smoothly, and you fish different lakes. If no one knows about the competition, fish different lakes over the 3 days on section points, and obviously the least or the most points wins. I'm not sure how he's running this year, but we're on peg we on today, 15 Falcon. So we've come on the Falcon Lake just to do a bit of filming, but thought I'd do a live just while we're here. I do apologise, there's a tractor going past in a minute if it's banging. It's quite bright today, I can't actually see my float that well. Now, we've had a few questions on social media, so what I'll do is I'll just try and catch a fish. And then what we'll do is we'll just go through them questions, and if you've got any more questions, just simply add them in the comments box below and we'll get through them. We've got cameraman Craig on the job, so he's going to shout them out if you wonder who the voice from behind the camera is. But what was the first one we had?
The first question is, what do you think is the most effective way of fishing when you are bagging shallow, down the edge or bait choices?
It's a funny one with that. If you're catching a lot of fish, it's hard to say what sort of bait. So say, like, for example, we're going to take maggots, for example. So we're catching a lot of fish really quickly. Had a swirl shallow then. We're catching a lot of fish really quickly. The most efficient way and the fastest way of catching them is trying to catch them close to yourself. So what I mean by this is trying to catch them either shallow down the edge. Sorry about the truck. So you either catch them shallow down the edge, it's nice and short if you've got the depth there, or a bit of reed cover, or catching the fish on, like, say, the short pole 6 metre line. That can be really deadly and really efficient. Now, the reason for that is you can group your bait tighter, you've got more control over your rig. Oh, there's one. You've got more control over your rig, so you can just, it's nice and easy, you can be, like, say, be efficient. But sometimes, some venues you can't catch at 6 metres, where they're a bit wiser, a bit craftier. Some days you have to go further out. So to say with bagging shallow, take maggots for example, just as a bait. It can be any bait really, casters, maggots, pellets. I'd say just try and fish as close as you can that you can get away with. Now, sometimes you can make the mistake of trying to do it too close for the amount of fish feeding. Say, for example, places I've been a lot that's really bagging and trying to be efficient is, like, say, Monk Hall. So you're fishing like 5 metres down the edge on the bottom or shallow, catching a lot of fish. But if you go to, say, Western on the clay pit, because it's so clear, you're not really going to catch many at 5-6 metres, so you have to go to 13. So I'd say the biggest thing about being efficient, like I said, is just shorter if you can, but don't be too short, and don't just think, oh, just because I've said 6 metres, that's where I'm going to fish. Just be wary of venue, what's catching. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube. There's a lot of videos, a lot of content now. Don't think any venue's been untouched, so that's what I'd say about that one. Also, if it's touching on down the edge, it's the same principle. Nice carp, that one. It's the same principle. As I say, if you're catching carp like this one, if you can catch them obviously like sort of like on your toenails, then great. You'd be nice and efficient. You'd be dead accurate. Can't get around my hand around him. You'd be nice and efficient, dead accurate, but sometimes there's not enough fish feeding in your peg that want to come that close. So just about where are you going to be. But one of the biggest things I'd probably say is accuracy. That's what you want. You want to be nice and accurate and that'll catch you more fish. Who was that again? I did not say.
Yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I've missed your name off the list. I do apologise.
Now, just a couple of questions off the live. Anthony Doney has said, have you got a new pole yet, Matty?
No, I haven't. I actually used it the other day. Went on the Preston day, and they had all the poles there from every range from the 10 to the 90, and I haven't had. We had to go over them fishing, but the difference is, I think, the massive difference what they've done at Preston is, say this is my 40-metre section. Now, this is just off when we fished. Me and John Harvey had a little go. And when you're shipping through your hands, the sections get bigger on these. Like I've got the M50 here, the XS70s in my bag, and they get bigger. And sometimes when shipping out, that can make you have to adjust your hands, making you a little bit slower. But now the guys at Preston have done them all the same mandrel, so it's nice and slim. Probably your 13 to your 16s all the same. So it just makes shipping a little bit easier. Now, if you're going to be using a top of the range pole, say the X90 or the X70, that's perfect because you're going to be fishing at longer distances. That's why you're buying that pole. But if you were fishing, like, say, for example, your local venues, like here at Westwood, it's only 40 metres wide with a short kit and short fore in. I'd look to buy a 50 because when I picked that up, it was just, if you don't need the extra length, that's a perfect pole. And I think it's like just over £1,000, so it's in everyone's budget range. But no, I haven't got a new one yet, but we did have a go over them on a Wednesday, so they're hitting the shop soon, so take a look at them, I would.
Matt126 has said hello, and how many have you bagged up today?
We haven't been here that long. We had a nice leisurely drive, didn't we? We didn't rush. We've had a few. We've only been fishing probably like 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Probably had 10 or 11 fish. It's quite interesting fishing at the minute because like the weather's changing. We've just done the intro from a members channel and we're talking about changing times in the weather, but just fishing off the bank there because it's quite shallow. I'll show you the rig now, but just tapping some micros in and catching nice and steady. It's a little 4mm Pro expander on the hook, which I like at this venue because they're a little bit heavier than the Fin Perfect range I've got. I've got both with me, but they're a little bit heavier, and what you find here is a lot of fish in your peg. Fishing's prolific. Not really stupid, not like 400 pound sort of weight, but you're going to get a lot of fish in your peg at a time, and you need to be nice and accurate. Oh, and not net them like that. But like you see, we're catching a few carp now, so if you're in a match, you're sort of building the weight nice and steady. And you always find them pro expanders just to be a little bit better when there's a lot of carp around, just because they've got a bit of oil in them. So they just sit on that lake bed a little bit longer and give you a nice little sharp indication. But if you look at the rig, I've just been speaking about this. When I speak about my rig, I only probably say 14, I'm going to say, I'm using my measuring, it's about 14, 15 inches deep, so it's a nice depth, but that's way off the bank. And here at Westwood, this Falcon is quite unique. It's quite shallow down the middle, it's quite shallow across, and it's just in proportion. That's probably half depth or just under half depth of the middle. So the fish are going to be willing to fish in that depth. But if you're going to a venue near you, you might have to fish a little bit deeper just to coincide with what the fish are doing. But all we're doing is just literally a little 4mm expander, size 16 SFL, little bolt like the hook length, carp shallow float, 4x14, so it doesn't drift around. Like I say, we're fishing it in a weird place really. Normally these sort of floats, you'd be pushing it up against the mud, tight straight away. But I just thought I'd just start at 13, and if I get too many lines and too many fish in the peg, I can always push up to there if I need to. But at the minute it's quite good, so I'm just putting a few micros in. The medium part with the sprinkle lid, so I've got room to shape my bait out. Nice and simple fishing, nothing too adventurous. Got another one.
Steve Lewis said Ian Keeling and Chris Shields said they're going to smash it up.
They will do, probably. Yeah.
Another one that's been left on Facebook, again I don't know who it is, sorry, but they've said, what length do you tie your waggler and bomb hook length?
That's young Joe, that.
Young Joe.
Young Joe. Basically, I'd keep it dead simple. Just do your bottom hook length at 12 inch. This allows you to be able to shorten it down to 6 inch or 8 inch or 10 inch, not really 10 inch, but like 8, 6, 4 if you wanted. Just it saves you messing around doing loads of 6, loads of 4s, loads of 8s. Just do them 12, and then if you need to, because if you're bomb fishing, you're not really catching many fish, they're going to be quite big. So I'd look to just do it 12 inches, and then you can shorten it down as you please. It just saves on prep, and I'm not a fan of doing prep, to be honest. And waggler hook lengths, just do them. If you're talking about pellet waggler, just doing 2.5 foot standard all the time. That's what I like to use. I went for a little lesson with Will on it, and that's what he used. And when I've been fishing with it, it just seems perfect for catching them carp. So I hope that answers your question, Joe.
Another Facebook one here is Gary Horn. Although we are in mid-October and temperatures are still decent, would you still fish hard pellets on a snake lake with F1s and carp?
Yeah, if you can get, like I'm sprinkling micros here today, if you can get fish in your peg on 4 mils, or the fish are a little bit bigger, or the one crucial thing is depth. So say if you've got 3.5 foot, 4 foot, places like say Western, a lot where I go a lot and I've done a lot over the years, is hard pellets can be really good. I can't actually see my float in that sun. Hard pellets can be really good because the fish are still active. They're not dormant. They're not just, there's only 1 or 2 coming in your peg. There's still going to be a few in your peg. So the last thing you want is to be sprinkling a load of micros in, causing loads of fish to be in your peg and not catch them. So it all depends on depth and the fishery you're going to. But yeah, don't ignore hard pellets. You can still catch them in the depths of winter, really. And I know I've had many good matches at Herringbrook in the past, even into mid-October, early December, fishing 4 mil pellets. Nice light rig through the water. You can catch a fish on the drop or on the bottom, nice and steady. So don't ignore them, they still can be. But the beauty of hard pellets is if you can't really catch on 4 mils, you can just sprinkle a few micros in, try and draw a fish in. If you can't catch him that way, you can always just back your hook length off and just put an expander on. So you've still got a good variation with that one.
We've got quite a long but a good question here from Ricky T on the live. And it says, what's the deepest part of the peg and what depth are you at today? And why choose the depth you are at? How shallow is it in the edge and would you fish in the shallowest water at this time?
I'm going to forget most of that.
I know, I'll read it.
What was the first bit?
What's the deepest part of your peg and what depth have you chose today?
So basically, here on Falcon's quite the same. The deepest part of the peg is actually like a top kit, a short 4 and 1 section. So that's like the trough here, and then it starts to come up. So the reason why you choose to fish there in your matches is because the deepest part of your peg is going to give you the best chance to catch shallow. Now you do catch shallow on this lake, so that's where you want to be fishing. You want to be fishing where you'll be giving yourself the chance of catching on the bottom and shallow. So as I'm throwing that bait in there, that's where the short maggot line is today. Now, is it on about depth across, yeah?
How shallow is it at the edge and would you go to the shallowest water at this time of year?
That all depends on what's in your peg. So that's the beauty about fishing, it can all change different times. So say if you've got like today, it's quite warm, it's quite sunny, there's a cold wind blowing off our back, so the water around this area in the shallow water is probably going to be warmer than over there. So if your mate's on peg 2 over there and you're on peg 15, say where I am, you might be able to catch him, say 15 inch down the edge, and he might have to go into 2 foot just because of the different depths of the water, temperatures. The depth we got today is about, probably I'm going to say about that deep next to the bank. Now, one thing you can get caught out on is the amount of fish coming in your peg. So if you think, if you're fishing in 15 inch and you're getting 2 or 3 fish at a time coming in your peg and you can't really catch them, but if you drop into say 2 foot, I know it sounds petty, but it can make a massive difference on sort of these snake lake venues. So if you drop into 2 foot, you can get a few more bites. You might miss a few bites, you might foul hook and odd them, but you're going to, that ratio of putting fish in your net is going to be a lot higher than being in too shallow water. So the best thing I'd say is if you're unsure, just let your bristle and your float tell you what's going on. So if you're getting some bites, you're getting loads of regularity bites, keep catching. then there's nothing really wrong. But if you're getting loads of missed bites, foul hookers, then you've always got the option to go into shallow water. I'd rather have the option of going into shallow water than not, obviously not going into, option to go into shallow water than fishing in too shallow water and just not catching. It's all about making it easy for you, so you can just fish nice and steady, and you can keep catching them. So I hope that covered it all.
That's covered all the question, yeah. Thanks very much, Ricky. Keep the
I knew
questions coming, guys.
I knew that. I knew I'd miss half of that. We got another one.
Yeah. Craig Taylor's probably asked your most asked question of the year.
When's the sock out?
When's the pole?
I've
I've asked him every day for the past 6 months now.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions off Craig, so I think it's out later this month, I think, or November, I want to say. It'll be by the end of December. That's a good shout, but I'm not really sure actually. I haven't asked for a while, but I think because of the trade show we had, I think it'll be end of this month, start of next month, and then I'm going to say end of December just to cover myself. But
basically any time from now.
Yeah, soon.
Another one from Ricky P here said, thank you. Where and how would you start a match this time of year at Partridge?
Ooh. I'd probably look to start. I haven't been there for ages, to be honest. But with it fishing, I'd look to probably start across at the far bank, probably like in 2.5 foot, just to see what you can catch. Because starting your match, if you go furthest away from yourself, so by this I mean because you're fishing across, you're the furthest away you can be to the far bank, so the fish might naturally want to be over there. If the fishing's good, you might want to start on the edge, but I think them weights are starting to drop now. It's been cold. I only got back in the country on Wednesday, and I can tell the difference of when I left to come back. The nights are colder. Obviously, this is the first time. Oh, there we go. The first time I've actually had like a cool wind. I've actually felt it from a jumper, so I'd probably look to start in 2.5 foot, 3 foot on pellets maybe. Like I said before, where's this going? If you can get liners and foul hookers, you can always move about, but that'd be a good way to start there. Put on your middle line for like say 40 minutes in. You might catch a few on the bottom that way, just managing your peg nice. So I hope that. Was there anything else on that? No?
No, I think
No.
that. Craig Taylor responded there and said, can you send me his pole stock in the post with laughing faces? But unfortunately, I have Bagsied anything that goes away, even if it's broken.
So after. No, I think they're out soon. So.
Send your details.
I'm getting kidnapped for a pole sock. Nice little simple fishing. It's not too hectic. Nice little size F1s. Nice and steady away. I've not had to change anything up yet. Just catching nice on a little formal expander. So it's nice. I don't like this wind though. It's making me hold my pole a bit difficult. So just basically filling that now. I've put too much in that. Probably I put loads in there. I'm being a bit generous now. It's because I'm talking. That'll do. So basically I'm just trying to line up the same bit every time. But it's crazy this lake. It's like, because it's so shallow across your feet, there's no way I'm going to get a bite there. Not a chance. You see all because like not say I used to fish, just a lot of my fishing has been at tunnel and partridge, where I've really like learnt me F1 fishing, and that's like 2.5 foot, 3 foot. But obviously, you haven't got that here. But new pool's near enough the same at tunnel. So say like you go on high pool, you have to fish in like 3.5 foot. But to catch on new pool across 3.5 foot is the middle. So it's basically half. In proportion, half of the depth is normally a good area to start this time of year. And obviously, this is like the same.
Just had another question here again from Ricky, who said, "What's the maximum depth that you wouldn't use ground bait on a snake lake?" So how deep is too deep for ground bait, basically?
say like too deep for ground bait is probably, on a snake lake you're obviously going to be catching smaller, not say smaller, but like F1s, smaller carp, that sort of thing. So I'd say like 2 foot maybe, 2 foot. I wouldn't really go any deeper than that. You can, if you get that nice, like, not heavy, it's hard to say, like not heavy, say like 2 week ground bait, say a crust expander or a match method mix. Now crust expander, it says what it is in the tin, it is crust expander pellet, but match method mix has got a lot of coarse pellets in it as well, so that's what you really want. You want, if you want to fish a little bit deeper, you're going to want some pellets that take on a bit more water to sink it a little bit quicker, so it enables you to settle to the bottom, and you're not going to get any, well, not going to say you're not going to get any, you're going to get less daft indications than you would with, say, a crust expander. But then as the vice versa approach, say if you need to attract fishing with a cloud, then crust expander's better. Normally I say like from November to February it's crust expander, just because the fish is not as active, and then any other time is just simply match method mix original, nice and easy, no messing around.
So we're going with 2 foot as the maximum depth.
Yeah, I'd say.
After that, you wouldn't use ground bait. This time of year, I suppose, on a snake lake.
Yeah, you can ball it up, but that's just going. You're just saying it for the sake of it. There, like you can try it. Don't get me wrong. You can fish it in any depth really if you ball it up, make it a bit heavier. But to fish it effectively, 2 foot maximum really. But don't be scared of. I'm gonna contradict myself. In the winter, put a little nugget of crust expander on your maggot line. Sometimes that worked brilliantly for us at Winter League the other year at Tunnel. It just draws a fish back in dead quick. You can get a little run again. It's just about working your peg. But if you're going to fish it any deeper, try and make it a little bit heavier, not like a stodge, but then if not, just a little small, say walnut size, plop it in and get a reaction that way.
We've had another one come in here from Mr. Adrian Lewis. Looks to be the dark player. I'm not joking. And he said, "Hi Matty, what ground bait would you recommend in the winter, if any?"
Yeah, so basically,
What you just touched on.
yeah, so say like, for say like F1s and carp, if you're going to feed like a little bit, I'd look to feed crust expander, just because it's nice and light. There's not really much food content. Ooh, missed the bite there, I'm going to come back. There's not much food content compared to say the coarser ground bait, say the match method mix original. So you're going to be able to feed a little bit more and get away with it really. So with a crust expander pellet. But if you were looking for say silvers, to either be like a lake ground bait, so like Sonia Bates Lake with a bit of sweet skimmer. It's got no fish meal in it at all. So if you're going to a venue, say a reservoir venue, and you don't want to put fish meal in because it's quite high food content, then that would be a nice little option. Or if you go into a fish mealy venue, then you can't really go wrong with F1 Black or Thatcher's Original. That's like the OG if you use Sonia Bates. A nice little mix of the two. But yeah, carp and F1, super crust expander, nice and fluffy, nice and light. There's not much food content in it, so it just tracks your fish into your peg. You're fishing with maggots or pellets, you can just draw them in. Even skimmers, you can catch them. So that's what I'd look to. I hope it is the dart player.
We've just had confirmation.
Is it actually?
Me, mate, I was at Herringbrook yesterday.
Yes.
How did you get on?
My cousin played darts and I beat him. Just going to say that.
You don't have to bring that up on a live.
So if you fancy a game. Yeah. That's awesome, that. That's done. I just might as well drop the mic and walk off.
That's it.
I can't catch one now. Gone now.
Gosh, he's got me shaking. Can't read these. So we've got another one just coming now. If you went to Partridge Open tomorrow, how many lines would you set up and where would they be?
Now this is like an interesting one really. So say like what you'd set up at Partridge, it's going to be quite simple. So I'd probably looked, you're not going to need many rigs because you're crossing down your edge lines are going to be the same rigs effectively, say 2.5 foot, 3 foot, and then your maggots down the middle is going to be your other line. So what it enables you to do this time of year is say, I haven't been to Partridge, but if it's anything like it normally is, say pellets are crossing, one just tail up then, say it's pellets are crossing say 2.5 foot, what you can able to do, say if you fish like straight in front of you to start with, if you catch say 2 or 3 there and then it goes a bit dead, you think, oh, just try that line. One thing about pellets, the beauty of it, they're dead fast to get a response. So what I could do here now is I've got fish in my peg here. I could literally swing around, go to 14 metres, tap some pellets in, and it'd be a lot quicker than it would. Just struck me expander. It'd be a lot quicker than it would fishing with maggots, because they're an instant bait. It attracts fish straight away. You can get them straight in on your pile where you're going. So what I'd look to do is maybe just have a plumb around, make yourself familiar with where the sort of like 2.5, 3 foot is, where they are. Normally, there's like pampuses, and that's a nice area. You can see your float because of the shade off the pampas, and fish will hold around little features like that. So make yourself aware of a few areas, but just take it one at a time. So say if you catch 2 or 3 fish across and you think, oh, it's died a little bit, I'll just try my edge. Pallets are normally quite good as well because the fish are hiding around them. So look for areas where there's a clump of reeds or a pallet or an area. Don't try and go into bare bank unless you're getting a lot of liners. So just try and look for little features where the fish are hiding. It'll be a little bit warmer maybe, and that's where the fish will want to be. So that's what I'd look to do if I was at Partridge tomorrow. And then obviously keep throwing your bait down the middle. If you feel like you're feeding too much, you can always kinder it so you can mix it up. But it's that funny time of year where I could say that and you could go tomorrow and catch shallow, but then on the Sunday you might even get a bite in the track and you might have to catch on the edges. So set it up, but just be wary of what's getting caught and have a look around what people are doing. You get a better idea of what's going on that way.
Now you've got a new contender.
Who's that?
AD Lewis has just said, brilliant, thanks very much, and yeah, I'll be up for a game, pal.
I was joking.
Let's make it a 2-legged match. One of darts and one of fishing, maybe.
You probably beat me at that.
Yeah.
Starstruck now.
Well, I'll play my darts.
You've gone, haven't you? You know what you're reading out now.
John Fairhurst has said bomb, Daddy.
What a guy. Is he here? He's spying on John. He's coming on this, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah. Time to come round. Bring a brew. Or a can.
Either.
Not really bothered. I've gone to pot now.
Oh.
I know. Said too much now. It's basically...
Be here in an hour.
Oh, hurry up.
2 Carlin.
Yeah. We'll probably be here forever now. We've gone. You've seen
I'm not leaving. Go to Arrowbrook every day till
I know. It's like there now. I've just had a lot of indications. So what I can always do, I can always move a different line. Just.
Here's quite an interesting question. When you're looking around at what other people are catching on, do you have any tips as to recognise what they are fishing? If it makes any sense.
Yeah. So like, I think this is the maddest thing with experience. So what I mean by that is like, say if I, can't have a pole. Say if I went to say Western, for example, because I've had so many years over there. That might be far up. So many years there, I know generally, say if someone was going in now and they're throwing bait short, the way it goes in is going to tell a massive difference. So if it makes a lot of noise, it's either pellets or casters. There's only a few baits you can throw, so pellets, casters, maggots, say. So if it goes in with quite a bit of noise, or they're feeding a lot of them, normally it's casters. But if they're feeding a few and making a bit of noise, but there's only like 4 or 5, that's hard pellets. Oh. Tell you what, I can't talk and fish at the same time. So, and if they're feeding like, say for example, I throw like that, by how it goes in, I can see from the next peg. So just maybe when you're fishing, try and play a little game in your head. Say you work out, say, I think he's fishing maggots, but don't worry too much about it. But at the end of the match, just say, all right, excuse me, was you fishing maggots? And then all of a sudden you'll get that experience of what they're fishing. But normally, like I said, there's too much content on social media now to get away with. it's very rare you fish a different bait to anyone else, because the biggest difference is, say like I come here today on Falcon, I could come here and fish cast this shallow, probably catch a few fish because we're pleasure fishing, but come the match there's probably going to be 29 other blokes fishing maggots, so but there's no reason why the fish would probably want to eat casters over maggots unless it was a certain time of year. But like I said, I sort of know this time of year maggots on the bottom, maggots shallow, pellets across and the edges is normally the best way to catch these fish. So just have a little look around, and if you're struggling with it, just literally think, oh, wonder what he's fishing. But normally you can tell less bait is, and a bit of noise is pellets. Casters is normally like a few and it makes a bit of noise, and then maggots you can normally tell just because it makes less noise and people are going to feed more than they will casters or maggots because they're nuisance fish and you can get away with it, to be honest. So just have a little look around if you're struggling with it. And like I said, I know it sounds petty, but just play a little game. You think, oh, I reckon he's fishing maggots. Go and speak to him. Oh, is he chucking maggots in? Oh, right, sound. So you know what it sounds like and what you're looking for. Got myself back together now.
Yeah, you suppose not.
Yeah.
This is enough for another question.
What's that?
This is enough for another question. Have you gone for half an hour?
Yeah. Yeah. You got any others off that list?
Off social media?
Yeah.
No, that's all three.
I mustn't have sent you more. My bad. Basically now, like, we're getting a few more signs in the peg, so what I'm looking in the match, you could maybe get away with going a little bit further across, but the depth doesn't change at all. So I know it may seem strange fishing a metre off the bank, but still getting the odd bite, still getting the signs, and sometimes it might be a little bit easier. Don't get me wrong, if it goes daft and there's a lot of fish coming in and we can't really catch them and it's a nightmare and we're foul looking, then I might look to just push across. But at the minute it's nice and steady. We've got 30 metres, which is probably one of my favourite lengths to fish just because it's nice and stable.
How would you tell what someone was feeding if they were potting the bait in?
That's very hard to. If they're potting the bait in, depends what they're catching. That's how you go off it. Say like, but then again, it's hard to tell a lot with the feeding. But if you think about it, if the big pot, what's that? Sorry.
Where they were fishing.
Yeah,
if they're going to be potting micros in, aren't they? If they're fishing short where the maggot line is, they're going to be potting maggots in.
Yeah, maybe colour as well, but that's quite a hard thing to think off the top of your head if you know straight away. But normally, like, it sounds stupid, say if there's someone fishing big potting down the edge, where they pick the ground bait from. So a lot of people have bucket of ground bait on the side tray. If you see him scoop it, then you know he's fishing ground bait. It's hard to tell, but one thing I'd say is try not to be too engrossed in what like other people are doing. Yes, it's good to see and it can help you in your matches, but if you're there trying to think so hard about what they're doing, you've seen today I'm fishing here and I'm turning around to talk and I look back and the float's dipped and gone, or I miss a bite, or I foul a few fish because I tapped too much bait in, because like that, tap too much bait in because I'm not concentrating. Just try and concentrate, and then maybe at the end go and ask them what they've caught and how they fished it. But normally people normally will tell you. There's no one really like that in the fishing world. They're quite nice to approach. If they don't, fair enough, but it's just where you're going to fish. It's quite an hard question to answer, that one, because if the big potting, then it's either going to be micros or ground bait. You can big pot corn and stuff, but there's not. I haven't done that for a very long time. So it's either maggots or, no, not sorry. So either micros or ground bait, and then if they're potting bait kindering, like I said, you can normally tell how it goes in. So if they're fishing micros, they'll probably put the pot to the water, put it on the water and let it all spill out. Sprinkling micros, you'd be easily, if you sat on the bank over there, you'd be able to tell I was sprinkling micros today, just because I'm tapping the bait and you can see little particles hitting the water. Now if I was tapping a 4mm pellets in, 6mm pellets in, or 8mm pellets in, you'd see that sort of like heavy thing. So you can tell, but it's quite a hard question to answer, that one. But just think in your head, oh, I might be fishing that, and then go and ask them after the match, because you get that little bit of experience then.
When you say you prime in the middle, do you mean bang on the middle of the leg or slightly off in a deep part of the water?
Yeah, so you want the deepest part of the peg. So what this allows is the most fish to gather in this area, so you can keep catching. Now, if you throw your bait, say, deepest part of the peg is there, this allows enough fish to come, creates more competition, so you can get easier bites. Last thing you want to do, say if the fishing was difficult and fish there, like it's that scenario again with the 2 or 3 fish coming in, compared to say 10 fish coming in. Look, they swirled there, they didn't swirl there. So when I throw my bait at 5 metres where my deepest water is, say chuck 10 in twice, the fish swirled. But if I chuck it in on my top kit, nothing happens. So that's the difference. Say like deepest water, most fish can gather, you can catch them that way. It just allows you to get more bites. Just trying to put the averages in your favour basically, that's all. Oh. Tell you what, 35 minutes went quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
But like I say, if you like that question before, if you see me tapping now, you'll be able to hear me tap my pole. You'll be able to see the micros come out and you think, oh, he's sprinkling micros. Some people will be sneaky and might just put like a big pot on and feed like 10 pellets, but it's part of the game really. You say it's quite a hard question to answer that. You can normally tell easily with throwing, but with potting, unless you drop it from a height or you can see the colour of the bait or whatever, it's quite difficult. It's gone right still now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite bright today.
It is. Thanks for that. Would you still feed the deepest part of your peg when you're fishing on the deck in the winter?
Yeah, that's what you're looking for basically. So you're looking for the deepest part of your peg in the winter. Normally, say like on these snake lakes, it's going to be in the centre track. So it's like maggots down the middle, maggots at 5 metres. That's the same. It's just different phrases. I don't know why, but they call it like the track, centre bit, deepest water. It's all the same. So say if you come on here today, you're going to fish 5-6 metres because that's where the deepest water is. So it enables your fish to come there, be nice and gather where they are, and if they want to come shallow, which is a few come today because you've seen a few swirls, they can do. But if they want to go on the bottom, you've got a nice big area for them to go down to. So say if we go on Skylark, say I'm on there on the last day. Now the middle doesn't really change. The middle doesn't really change, so I'll just fish that at 6 sections. Just, there's a nice depth away from me. It's still the deepest part of my peg, but it's still nice, further enough away. I don't think we'll catch a few shallow, but they might come up on the bottom. If not, if they don't and they rise off the bottom a little bit, it can always come shorter. It's the beauty of this time of year. It's really interesting. So like one day you can catch in 2 foot really well, next day you can catch in 3 foot because it went a bit cooler. Then today you might catch say in 18 inches because it's dead bright. The fish might all be in cover, hiding alongside that. So you've just got to be careful and mindful. There's no...
Would it not be too silty down in the deepest bit on the deck?
No, because what you're trying to find is you're not trying to catch masses of fish. So in the deepest water, the silt, yes, can be an issue. And one thing you've got to be careful of is replumbing up. So you might have a run of say 6-7 fish, all perfect, go in, don't get a clean bite. You think, right, this is the little process I'm going to go through now. It's going to be bang on, I'm going to keep going with it. And all of a sudden you foul up 3 or 4 and you're like, well, that's perfect a minute ago. You haven't changed your feeding, you haven't fed too much, too little, you felt it was the right way. What you can find is you come back, replumb, and it's sat like halfway down your bristle, and that's because the fish have obviously been grubbing round and they dug out the silt. It's just gone a bit deeper, so you just replumb, go back to your normal depth. That's why it's important when you fish down the middle, just have a little bit longer lash in the winter, just in case that does happen. Like I say, if you go to your venues, you know, silt, like say October, November, January, February, March is not really an issue. Don't get me wrong, if you feel like it is an issue, try and get on a bit harder bottom, but because the fishing's not as prolific as in the summer, you can get away with it. Just be careful of plumbing up. Make sure you're on that bottom. Just have a little mark and then have a little drop in, see what it's about. It takes 30 seconds to check it, but you can make your match go from here to there just by one little knot change. Just be wary of it. And if the one thing from that, if you go in and you think, no, I'm bang on, then your feeding's wrong. So then you can just change your feeding up. So it gives you like a little thing. Nope, that's right. You can go to your next one then, and then you can just keep catching them fish, hopefully. One thing I will say is massively is with that is like being accurate down the middle. So like have a bit of tape. Yeah, what you might find is that you're fishing to the end of your pole, but have a bit of tape there, so where you hold your hand inside of my leg there. If I put that tape there every time, it's going to be fishing in the same bit, no matter whether it's 5 metres, 16 metres, missed that one, 5 metres, 16 metres, it's always going to be the same place, nice and accurate, so you know if you go in, and you plumb up and it's wrong, you can change it straight away.
If you missed a bite and it wasn't solid, like, would you always ship back and load up and refeed? If you've obviously got none in your pot.
Normally give it like, say if today, say if I missed a bite, which I just missed one there, I drop back in, maybe give it, say at the minute, like a minute or two, and then come back and start again. Normally say like, if it happens 3 times, on the 3rd time, just give it 30 seconds, then come back. One thing you don't want to do is just keep coming in and out all the time, because if you say the fishing's difficult, you're just going to make it worse for yourself by putting more bait there. It's like chucking more and more sweets in the room. You're just building it up, you're just lowering your chances of catching one, finding your hook bait. Just give yourself a little bit of time, that's where patience comes in. Just think, no, I'll just drop it in there for a minute or two. Right, I haven't got one, come back, start again. You're not going to put too much bait in your peg, and hopefully that will reduce your foul hookers, liners and stuff like that. Hopefully that answers your question.
Keep the questions coming in.
So it's just pushing through now, that. One thing just keeps happening. What time is it now, Craig?
It is 2:45.
Ooh, that'd have been a good one to finish on. See, like there now, I've got no bait in my pot, and I've missed two or three bites, so give it 30 seconds. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 seconds and think, right, if not, I'm going to come back and refeed. I know it's a fish in my peg because I can see bubbles. I'm thinking, right, if you don't find my hook bait, one's just bow waved out, so it's worth watching. There's a swirl there. And you think, right, I'm going to sit there. It's not gone yet. I'm not going to come back too quickly. See that there now. So I'll come back, refeed. And I feel like I haven't come just rushing round straight away doing stupid things. I'm just literally nice and patient. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bigger hole on so I can just feed one hit of bait. So I'm going to feed probably like 30 micro pellet just in one hit. So then all of a sudden I'm going to get 2 or 3 missed bites, and then I'm literally going to come back and refeed. Get to my mark there, tap my bait in, lift my rig straight in, straight down, not messing around. That positive bulk is just going to set the rig straight away, nice and accurate. And now, got a pile of pellets on the bottom, my expander's sat on top of it. It's like a little trap, and fish come in, hopefully pick my expander up, get a nice clean bite, and catch one dead quick. So just had a sign then, so it's not like a bite situation, it's like a little wobble.
Are bubbles in the peg a good thing? I know it shows fish, but sometimes it can be like a jacuzzi. Is it the bad thing when they are like a jacuzzi?
Sometimes what happens there is because they're sifting through the silt. Oh, missed that one. So there we go, I missed the bite. I'll go back to that question in a minute, but I missed the bite, so I'm just literally going to drop it in, give it a minute or two, and then come back and start again. So the thing is with bubbles is you've got to think that's the silt getting lifted off the bottom. So the fish are feeding, lifting the silt off the bottom. Now one thing you're going to find is the silt can create a cloud off the bottom, so sometimes they might not be able to see your hook bait. Now this is one massive thing which I recently learned at Monk Oil. Because the fishing's so good, oh, scattered then. So I've got one, the fish is scattered then, I've literally got one more chance to catch one. If not, I'm going to come back, do it again. So in Monk Oil, you'd think throwing 4 mils down the edge, 6 mil hard pellet on the up, perfect for catching small carp, F1s, everything. And you think, oh, I've started to foul hook a few fish. Now, I felt the way I was catching was fine, but I just foul hooked a few. And one thing I noticed, because the water's died there, it's like a blue column, but obviously you see, come back now, I missed that one, do it again. So you see like brown plumes of silt come up. Now one thing I thought is it can't be just that. You can't see my hook bait, so I put an 8 mil on, that transformed everything. So sometimes if you're struggling, just try a little bit bigger hook bait, just they might be able to pick it out a little bit quicker. That's one thing I've found recently, but if you find, say if you're fishing pellets and you're getting fizzing and nothing, just literally start a new swim, start again, and then what happens is it'll calm down there, you'll get some fizzing there and just move around all the time. That's one little trick you can get away with fizzing all the time. Like one thing I should really do now is, I've had a few missed bites and a few fish, and like I said, I've just seen that plume come up. So what might happen here, I might be feeding, and the fish can't see my hook bait. So I'm literally feeding for no reason, drawing fish in the peg, and they can't see my hook bait. So one thing I could do, just spin off, foot to the left, start again, and catch them like that. So that's one thing to try when we go off this live. But that's one thing to do. Don't be scared of moving and changing at this time of year now. Like I said, gone are the summer months where it's like stupidly bagging, where you need to catch shallow short or shallow long or big carp mugging or on a method or down the edge. See that there now? That was straight away off the back of it. It'll probably come off and lose it now, but so just don't be scared to move along that far bank. Because you've got pellets, they'll be nice and fast. Same with hard pellets, you can just start again, move around. You might end up moving around a lot of your peg, but you can keep them fish going in there, and that's the most important thing. So, but look, that little change, that little rhythm, yeah, we missed a few fish, but probably 5-6 minutes and we've got one. So keep that up, you can have 10-12 fish an hour, which is normally about right for this lake. You need like 60 to 80 fish, so a good little run somewhere, and you've got your target weight, so you're just catching nice and steady, you're not catching too much. You can catch, well, I mean, it got stuck then, catch some massive, nice little chunky F1s, like these ones. So have we got any more questions, or?
Would you ever hook a band if you give the bird food to take it off and on? Use it on the same?
No, not really, because I like to, one reason why I don't do that is just like to fish the methods I'm fishing. So if I was fishing casters shallow, I'd never really put a maggot, hook a maggot or a piece of worm. I'd either just band the caster or band the red pellet. I'm quite strict with stuff like that. I don't think it's much easier to have it on a hair rig. It gives you a little bit better hook hold. Obviously you can band maggots, but it's better to hook them. But with your hair rigging, it just makes it a little bit neater and a better hook hold. So I wouldn't do that personally. But if you struggle tying them, so it's not wrong. I know a lot of people, I know Andy Finley does it. I know a lot of people do it and they catch loads of fish. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but I just like to fish nice and direct and nice and straight. So any more, or?
Yeah.
We're all done. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to just finish off this members channel now for the video. So we're just going to finish it off hopefully before any weather comes in, looking around. But hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in and giving all the questions. It's been enjoyable. I'm surprised it's like nearly 50 minutes in, but it's been enjoyable. And I think something we'll be definitely doing a little bit more of soon, because I know I've not been posting on YouTube. I had a lot going on recently with my members. I literally got married, been away, working. So I'm going to be back on this now. We're going to be going out, doing nice little vlogs. I'm going to film this weekend for a vlog so you guys can see what a fantastic festival Tony runs here at Westwood. And to be honest, when you see the video, you'll see why we come. It's not really about the fishing. We've got hot tubs, got Carlin, John's going to get in, brekkie in the morning, Starbucks down the road. It's it's a brilliant weekend out. So you'll see that on the vlog. Look out for that next week. But thank you for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you later.